Hello. Well, I could not let today pass without doing a little dedication to my fellow director, the late great David Lynch. Before we get into his career and talk about him, and this is because it's late night with Lancey, this is welcome to all YouTubers. I've got one waiting in the green room already. If you're someone with a channel, I don't care if you've only got 5 subs. Just shout in the chat and I will send you the invite to come on. I am feeling a little bit better, not 100%. So this won't be a big long stream, but I am feeling a little bit better. Anyway, before we get into it, I think that one of his films was a product of bad managing by the producers. I happen to think it's very good, especially the extended cut. Let's have a look at a trailer for David Lynch's 1984 June.
I'll miss the sea. But a person needs new experiences. Without change, something sleeps inside us. Soon we leave for Arrakis. Arrakis is real. The Harkonnens are real.
I see plans within plans. I see House Atreides, House Harkonnen feuding. I see you behind it.
Soon they'll begin to fill its space.
It is said, a man will come, the Kwisatz Haderach. He will go where we cannot. Many men have tried.
They tried and failed?
They tried and died.
The Duke will die before these eyes, and he'll know that it is I am Vladimir Harkonnen who encompasses his doom.
The spice will change me. I see it. I can see it.
You say no one.
A storm is coming. Our storm. And when it arrives, it will shake the universe.
Hello.
Why, hello.
That trailer was from Alan Chamberlain's YouTube channel. He's only got 44 subscribers, but that trailer that he cut, a modern trailer, has got 36,000 views, and deservedly so. Do you know what? If that had been the trailer that came out 4 June in 84, I reckon it would have done really well if that was the trailer.
I have absolutely no doubt. That was amazing.
It's a great trailer, isn't it? Really good. That's the first time I've seen it. I didn't even watch it before I uploaded it. I just typed in modern June trailer. There was a couple, and I was like, oh, I'll pick the longest one. Let's put it on. That was great. Better than I could do, and I'm a pretty good editor.
Yeah, I was like have you seen the other fan edits for trailers? Somebody did a horror trailer for the movie Elf.
Oh yeah,
it was fucking amazing.
I know someone's done. I don't know if it's still on there because I had trouble finding it, but a few years ago, somebody did a trailer for Die Hard, but they've recut it so that Rickman is like the good guy and Willis is the bad guy. It's so funny. I haven't been able to find it recently. Yeah, so I mean, we lost David Lynch today. I knew he was ill, so it wasn't a complete surprise. But yeah, I did hear he wasn't in the best of health, and hadn't been for some time. So
and especially when you're that age, like
it was. But I do want to talk about June a little bit. I want to talk about some of his other work. There's a funny story. I won't repeat it all here, but one of the first blogs I ever wrote on my blog page is about how the cinema that I went to, which was not my regular cinema, but we went there because we wanted to see June on a really big screen. And it wasn't playing on a really big screen at my local. It was on smaller screen. So it came out the same weekend as Terminator.
Okay.
So what we did was so we went to see Terminator, which we weren't old enough to see, at our regular cinema in Kingston.
Okay.
And we saw it on screen one, the big screen. And then we travelled on a bus to Richmond and went to see June. And June started about sort of, 8:30 or 8 or whatever. And it was coming up to 10:30 and it still hadn't finished. And the guy that was with me, his dad's a policeman and his dad was always worrying about him. So he went out to call him to tell his parents we were going to be late. And this is because Richmond Cinema accidentally got sent a rough cut of June, not the one that was the original 84 release. I wrote about this.
Oh, lucky you.
And it's just talking about some of the other films I saw that year in the blog. So I'll pop the link for this blog into chat so people can read it at their leisure. But it's a completely true story, because one of the reasons I know with absolute certainty that this is what happened is because I went to see the film again the following night at Kingston with my dad, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is a different cut. There's loads of scenes missing. And some of the scenes that were missing were those of Molly Rins, which she's on the right here, who plays the wife of Janice. So all the storyline with Janice and the fight with Janice and everything was all in the cut that I saw. There was also another battle scene in the desert that was completely missing from the standard cut. There was another scene with the Reverend Mothers. There was another scene with the Reverend Mother who was with the Fremen before she died. And just some other little dialogue scenes here and there. And most of the extra stuff was all in the section of the movie after the House Atreides has fallen. Most of it was all in the second half. But the running time of that version was 3 hours 10 minutes.
Nice.
So, and no one believed us, right? Everybody at school thought we were making this up. And then lo and behold, a couple of years later, because laser discs were a big thing back then, they released a laser disc of June. I talk about the other versions of June on here. My friend Sharon Duncan Brewster played the Doctor Kynes in the latest one. Nice. That's how I got to go to premiere. So anyway, the Laserdisc comes out, and the Laserdisc version is a 3-hour version of the movie. And so straight away we knew one person who had a Laserdisc player, so we begged them to buy June so we could see it. I went round to watch it, and it was a different cut again. Some of the scenes were not in it that I'd seen, and there were other scenes that I hadn't seen that were in that version, and then some of the scenes that had been cut were in it. So there's all these different cuts of June 84 that do exist, and then of course people have done fan cuts. There's the Spice Diver edit, which many people consider to be the best one, and I think you can still get that on YouTube. But anyway, so that's how I got to see a longer version of June when it was first released. So I think my opinion of the movie was higher than a lot of people's because I saw that version first, and there was a lot more character development and stuff. But the reason I really loved Lynch's June was, I mean, it was a bit of a convoluted mess with a lot of exposition, like way too much exposition. But up until then, most of our sort of sci-fi stuff have been Star Wars, Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica, and they all had a, you know, like Colonial Viper, X-Wing. They ain't that different, you know. They look very similar, and you know, and these shows, Star Wars obviously was the god, and you had a lot of spin-offs.
Of course.
And all of the spin-offs always felt like kind of lesser children of Star Wars, Buck Rogers and so on. What was great about this show, with this movie, was it looked really different. I mean, I loved the costumes. I loved the, you know, the characters. I hadn't read the novel. I hadn't read the novel then. I've read it now.
Yeah, everything about it's so distinct. Like, props to Frank Herbert for having the imagination to come up with all this stuff. He put so much thought into it. And
yeah, I mean, I've got a making of June book, which is really interesting. I really like the casting in this film. I mean, even Sting is good in this role, you know. But it's also a lot of the supporting cast. Sean Young possibly is the weakest. Oh, that codpiece was famous.
No doubt. Imagine popping that up in the bedroom.
Yeah, David asks if they handed pamphlets out. Now, not in the UK, but I did hear that happened in the States in a few places. So can't vouch if it was true. Yeah, I know. I thought Sting was very good in this role. But there's David Lynch on set. Look how young he is there.
Right.
But I became friends with Molly Rin, who played Janice's wife, and she told me loads of stories about the production as well, which married up with all the other facts that I knew. And Sean Young, again, was kind of on the beginning of the downward slide of her career. And she was like, didn't speak to anyone on the set that she didn't have to speak to, you know? So a total diva, basically.
Yeah, well, they're a dime a dozen.
But let me ask you, have you just seen the standard cut of this, or have you seen any of the other versions?
Like, I remember seeing it as a kid, but honestly, it's been years. So sadly, I'm not quite as...
Well, I think on YouTube, the Spice Divers cut does exist. So let's have a quick look and see if it's still on there. It might have been removed for copyright, especially when the new film came out.
I saw that you can buy or rent it here on YouTube, but clearly
no. You want to watch the extended version.
Sure.
I mean, now some people say the June Spice Diver edit is it's been removed. You'll be able to find it on, you know, the usual sources, shall we say.
Yeah, I'm thinking about hitting up Amazon Prime after this.
It exists out there as a physical film. But there is also the Laserdisc version. There's also the 2-part TV version for American television, which restored a load of scenes. Now, a lot of people don't like the ending when it rains at the end because it's not in the book.
Okay, well, that's fair.
I really like that ending, I have to say. I like it. I like the, you know, suddenly this guy is so godlike, he can control the weather. And I thought, yeah, that kind of puts the caboose on anyone coming back to try and retake the planet, because he can just control the weather. He can smash all the ships. Yeah, here we go. Razorhead said Spice Diver Reddit got deleted off YouTube when Dune 2 came out. That's what I thought, yeah.
Boo!
But you will be able to find it somewhere. It's probably on Vimeo.
Okay.
But every time I go back and I watch this again, I find more things in it that I like. And there's a couple of things that let it down. I think Carl McLachlan does a good job, but I do wonder if someone else might have done a better job than him in the lead. But I like all the I like the effects for the worms, even though they look really dated.
Yeah, at the time it was just amazing.
Carlo Rambaldi did the special effects for that, and these are quite nice. I don't know if these are like fan art or AI or but the fact that they are physical animatronics,
practical effects,
means that they're animatronics, but at least they're there. They're physically there. We can see them. It's not CG. I mean, the worms on the Sci-Fi Channel version, they look terrible now.
Oh yeah,
they're atrocious. Yeah. There are some good things about that version, but the effects are not one of them.
For sure, some of the stuff you see on the Sci-Fi Channel is rough stuff.
I always thought, and I've said this many times, it was a huge shame that Lynch came away from this with such a bit of disdain for the project and what happened with it, because he wanted it to be 2 movies. I always thought it was a huge shame that he didn't publicly say, look, I want to come back in and I want to re-edit my film and I'd like some money to do some pickups, and I want to re-edit. I want to maybe redo some of the special effects. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
And give it the kind of 2-part feature film or whatever. I really wish he had done that, because I know he kind of hated it and everything. I think he should be really proud of it. It's a very, very unique science fiction movie with a really incredible look, really incredible production designs. It's got a good cast, some better than others. Script ain't what script isn't everything it should be, but just all the different things, like the plugs in the bodies, the difference with the Harkonnen planet, the way it looks. And do you remember Baron Harkonnen has got these little rat things that are in these kind of jars which he can squish down, so he can kill them, he can crush them, and then he sucks their juice out of a straw like they're some sort of cocktail.
I think I repressed that memory.
No, yeah, but it's production design detail like that.
Yeah, that is a great idea.
Really interesting, So, Lynch's Syndicate. It would have been. I feel like we were robbed, and I would have loved the opportunity to tell him in public, listen, man, I really enjoyed that movie, and that's because you made it. So, I do like it. This was all filmed in, I think it was Tunisia. No, it might have been Mexico. Might have been Mexico, one or the other. And they burned lots of tires in the desert for the smoke effects. A guy called Kit West did all the practical effects. I think he worked on Raiders of the Lost Ark as well, But I saw this, like I said, I saw it when it came out. So you saw it as a kid, right? You were a bit younger than me, probably. Mexico, thank you. Yeah. Most of it was shot in Mexico, including the interiors, because it saved a lot of money. And the De Laurentiis family had shot there before. So there's a really great shot of in the making of book, which I do have, but it's in my shed, unfortunately. And the cover's missing because I ripped the cover off and cut the cover of the book up so that when I audio recorded the movie Dune, I could use those pictures as the casings for the D90 audio tapes. Can you believe that? Because I used to audio record films before I had VHS.
Nice.
So, yeah, I just think, this film was unfairly savaged at the time, but I also think they should have let him do 2 movies because I don't think it would have cost that much more. It just would have allowed the story to breathe, and they wouldn't have had to do that big silly speech at the beginning with the princess where she's explaining everything.
Yeah.
But these images here are from the original opening, where there's a whole big long backstory about how machines get destroyed and the robot rebellion, and that was all conveyed through storyboard art. These images are from that version.
Wow.
Yeah. See, I love these costumes, man. And even the designs of the guns are different for each house, and that looks like that's from Alien.
Right. That too.
Yeah. And these are the Guild Navigators. I don't think we got to. Did we see them in the new Dune reboot? I feel like we didn't.
I didn't see the new Dune.
Right. Yeah, it's worth watching. But see the longer version of this first if you haven't seen it.
Will do.
Because I'd really like to know what you think of it. That is David Lynch's cameo as the controller of a spice harvester.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, the visuals back then were a mixed bag, Darth, but some of them were really nice. And a lot of it is model work with a bit of green screen and stuff. Yeah, no, I didn't think that there weren't navigators, were there, in Villeneuve's version? So I always was a bit disappointed about that. But I think he wanted to focus all the screen time on the human characters. I felt the second part of Dune, Villeneuve's version, I didn't like it. I felt the second part of it was like the last battle, the big battle at the end. I just felt it was really rushed. And and then I wasn't as gripped with it as I thought I should be, Plus, I really like the score for this. So guess what? I have the vinyl soundtrack. Of course I do. Yeah. So, anyone just joining us, we showed a modern trailer for this at the beginning. Check it out. It's really, really good. So, were you a fan of Twin Peaks at all?
Not really. A lot of my experience with him specifically, my co-host on the podcast that we do has a minor obsession with David Lynch. If you'd like, I'll see if he's free. But at least once a month, he'll send me a video from Lynch, just going over the creative process, the logic behind writing, how he would pick apart stuff and, eventually put it all back together. And he had such like a deep understanding of the creative process and such a genuine passion for everything that he did. And like, he's a unique person, and it's a genuine.
Your friend or David Lynch or both?
Both. They are both quite unique people.
So it's interesting to note that he's actually got 109 credits on IMDb.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
because I only thought he did like the dozen movies.
Now I saw, that's right, that's very much the perception, isn't it?
Yeah.
And of course the Elephant Man was people forget that he directed Elephant Man, with John Hurt. Yeah. And that's the one that got him Dune. you know, and they asked to see his film Eraserhead before, when they'd seen this, and I remember him saying, "Oh, that's it. I'm fucked now. There's no way I'm going to get this movie if they watch." Is it Eraserhead or whatever the film was called? And
Yeah,
that was
Eraserhead.
like his student graduation movie or something. But yeah, this was Elephant Man was kind of groundbreaking. A lot of classic British actors in this one. John Gielgud and Anthony Hopkins there. That could almost be a clip from Alien, couldn't it? But yeah, I
Somehow Alien crosses with American Psycho, or
yeah, it was a brave decision to film it in black and white. I mean, you can argue, well, you can say with confidence that basically Lynch was not just a director, he was an auteur. He had a certain approach, a certain visual flair, and he wasn't afraid to take risks, and he wasn't afraid to fuck people off. I mean, you only need to see the end of Twin Peaks to know that, which is, of course people would be very angry. It's like, what is this about? What's going on? But you know, and sometimes he'd score a hit and sometimes not. But funny story was, so I saw June and I liked it, right? And then by the time his next film, Blue Velvet, came out, I was dating, and should have put this entry in my book actually. I said to my then girlfriend, "Oh, you know, David Lynch's new film Blue Velvet's out. You know, we got to go, and that would be good. Let's go and see that."
That looks like a romance.
Well, I didn't know anything about it. All I knew was that Isabella Rossellini and Carl McLachlan and Dennis Hopper were in it, and these were all actors that I admired.
Yeah, well,
So
they're all fantastic.
yeah, and you got Laura Dern in there, and I'll never forget. It opens with this kind of almost Hollywood-esque version of a white picket fence street or something, and then you kind of zoom into the grass. And suddenly in the grass, you realise there's all these ants crawling over this decapitated ear that's been left in the grass in this white picket fence kind of house. And before we knew it, we were on to scenes with Dennis Hopper going at Isabella Rossellini whilst taking laughing gas and shit. I mean, I was like, oh my God, you know, what are we watching?
This isn't a romance at all.
Well, I did think, I mean, thank God by this time we were probably going out for about 6 months.
Okay.
So I do remember turning to her and going, sorry, I didn't know it was going to be quite this kind of film. And she said to me, well, at least it's not boring. And I was like, yeah, okay. I mean,
well, that's a pretty ideal response.
I think this is the film that got Dennis Hopper quite a lot of bad guy parts as well.
I believe it.
Because I don't think he played like a psycho before this. He'd done a lot of hippies and whatnot. But have you seen this movie?
That's another one that's been a long time. But
so I reckon your buddy probably have loads to say about it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. There's
send him a message. I'll let you know if he gets back in touch.
Yeah. If he wants to come on, tell him to pop on. I see Adrian Sherlock is in the chat, who's been a guest on the channel before. He's currently in Australia. Adrian, if you want to come on, mate, let me know and I'll drop you the link. Yes, I mean, do you know what? I have never watched this film since. And keeping in mind that I was 17 or whatever, barely, when it came out, I really feel like now I should go back and watch it with my writer's hat on. I wasn't a writer-director back then. I wasn't anything. I was just a teenager going to college and doing all that stuff.
Oh yeah, you're
And I
basically a whole new person.
Yeah, I think I need to sort of watch it, with that perspective. Drew, you'll be correcting me over minor details. Keep doing me that in the chat, mate. That's all good. Adrian, drop me a message on Facebook, please, so I don't have to look for your profile. Then I can send you the link. But yeah, I mean, this is a good movie. I can't even rate it out of 10 because it's been so long since I've seen it. That would kind of be unfair, but see, I give his June an 8 out of 10. I like it that much. So yeah, there we are. Hang on, I think Adrian's going to come on now. Let me drop him.
Oop.
There we go. Yeah. So then we had After Blue Velvet, which actually I think is probably the film that introduced me to Laura Dern. I think the next thing I saw of his was Wild at Heart with Nicolas Cage. Have you seen that?
Wild at Heart.
That'd be this one.
Okay.
Apparently there's a supercut of this movie. Okay.
Now that was a bit before any of the other Nicolas Cage movies I've seen.
Well, I can tell you now that he's just as crazy in this film as he would become later.
I remember seeing highlights of that one movie where he was like playing an Italian guy in New York who's missing a hand, who's like obsessed with opera.
Right.
Yeah, that's some wild stuff.
By the way, any of my moderators in the chat that want to come on tonight, because it's late night Lance, so you guys help me out. You can come on if you want. Just tell me if you want to come on. I'll fire you the link. So,
yeah, I'm sure Eraserhead has a lot to say.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like a Lynch fan,
right?
So,
or just a bizarre.
He says it's a good movie, but it's aged the worst out of Lynch's films. So this is another one I've not seen since I saw it at the cinema. I kind of liked it, but it was also just kind of the wrong side of batshit crazy for me to want to watch it again.
Yeah.
But I did like it. I love Diane Ladd. She's so underrated. And it's kind of like this mad love story. It's got a bit of a Mickey and Mallory vibe to it. Yeah, I would agree that Tarantino is always inspired by movies. He takes things he likes in movies, he reshapes them, makes them his own. I just don't think that's
there've been a number of breakdowns showing that he'll just straight rip stuff from other movies and put it in his own. Yeah,
but he always does his own thing with it.
For sure.
He'll take ideas and he'll improve on them.
Yeah.
Or he'll just do really wacky things.
Yeah. By that I'm referring to like the intro to Jackie Brown, where the overlay is like a 1-for-1 match with a previous movie. And the plots are going to be completely different, but little things like that. It's like legally distinct.
This must be Isabella Rossellini's stunt double. I didn't know Laura Dern dated Rennie Harlin, director of Cliffhanger, and didn't he also direct Die Hard 2?
I do not know.
Australia's in the house.
Oh shit!
G'day.
G'day guys, how you going?
Making it work, brother.
Going good. You got the Barbie on?
Nah, a bit early in the day for that.
Yeah, and what time is it?
If I do get it fired up, I'll chuck a shrimp on for you.
Yeah, absolutely. You better do. I'll be disappointed culturally,
Absolutely.
What time is it there?
It's 11 a.m., a bit after 11.
All right, that's not too bad. So, Adrian, are you a Lynch fan?
Yeah, I mean, on and off, but I mean, he's I think he's one of the most remarkable directors. Certainly one of the most. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of auteur sort of directors. You
Yeah,
know,
me
and
too.
he's very much to me. He's up there with Kubrick as one of the most original. You know, whether you like everything he makes or not. You know what I mean? Sometimes he made stuff that was quite disturbing. You know. Or unsettling. So wasn't always comfortable to view everything. Like I mean, I haven't watched from Kubrick. I haven't watched Lolita all the way through because of the subject matter. You know,
Yeah,
and
that's a rough one.
Do you know what?
yeah,
I
and I
haven't
find
ever watched.
Clockwork
I
Orange a
haven't
bit
ever
off. You
watched
know,
that movie. I've never seen that movie.
yeah, and I found A Clockwork Orange very hard to take.
Oh,
I mean, I
I
watched
saw
it
that
once and
once. Didn't want to watch it
yeah,
again.
sort of
Yeah, I didn't care for
liked
that
it the
one.
first time around. Tried to watch it again, and I just found it really distasteful. But you know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. I think Lynch is like that. You know, whether you actually like everything he did or not is not even the point. Or it's almost like he's just so original and interesting and different that you just admire him for having the balls to do his thing his way, whether you like all of it or not. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
He sort of transcends that whole question of, you know, did you like every film he made or not? You know, it doesn't sort of really matter at the end of the day. He just was a unique voice, and that alone is very special, I think.
He does like his shots of, you know, the bottom feeders of the world, flies and ants and shit, eating kind of human refuse and
I had a
maggots.
mate who was obsessed with Eraserhead. Absolutely, he loved Eraserhead, and
Yeah, he's in the chat right now talking about how much he loves Lolita. So he's there.
Right. I mean, I gather Lolita is quite funny because it's quite a witty script, I gather, and it's got Peter Sellers sort of playing a really oddball character in it who sort of steals the show. So I mean, I'm assuming it's not all terrible, but yeah, it's the only Kubrick film I've never watched, and yeah, it's probably there's that and probably A Clockwork Orange. I probably am not in a hurry to sit through again.
Steering us back to Lynch, as this is the Lynch dedication stream,
Absolutely,
not the Kubrick
yes.
dedication stream. Although your
I
point
was just
about
looking for a
auteurs,
comparison point, I guess.
no, your point about auteurs is well made. Were you a fan of the '84 Dune?
Absolutely, yeah. I remember because I was a bit young at the time to go to the cinema, but because I just finished high school, year 11, and so yeah, it came out on VHS, so as a new release. So I hired it and watched it, and I don't think I've ever watched it again since. And I suspect, looking at the trailer you showed at the start of the show today, if I was to watch it now on the big widescreen telly, probably in HD or whatever, you know, I'd probably appreciate it. And I'm older now, so I'd probably have the wisdom to appreciate nuances I probably missed as well. So, yeah, I'd say I liked it, and I'd probably like it even more if I were to rewatch.
There's a lot of really good things about it. There are some things that let it down, but you know, most of the acting is very strong. Couple of weak people.
There was a comment. There was a comment I remember reading at the time. I don't know whether Lynch himself said it or someone said it about him, but the feeling was that the scale of the project, it sort of got away from him a bit, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't have say over Final Cut. So I mean, also think about the time and money that they spent shooting stuff that didn't appear in it.
To not give him Final Cut is terrible, because I mean he was such a visionary director. You know,
you need to see one of the longer cuts. All of the longer cuts are better. There's about 4 different versions. There's the 2-part American TV version, which has a load of extra scenes in it. There's the Laserdisc version, which came out, I think, in around sort of 1989. That's longer. And then there's the Spice Diver edit, which is a fan edit. that most people consider to be the best edit. I personally don't like it because I like the rain at the end of the movie, and they cut that out of that version.
There was a lot of controversy about the rain.
Yeah, I know.
remember reading this journalist said, like, he said he spotted Frank Herbert's agent walking out of the cinema at the end of the premiere. So he ran over to him and said, "What did you think? What did you think?" And he turned around and said, "It didn't rain at the end of the bloody book, I'll tell you that."
Yeah. No, Frank Herbert wasn't happy about that aspect.
Because apparently it would have killed the worms and destroyed the spice, so it does happen in the books, but I'm told it happens much later in the series after a lot of more stuff.
Well, but it only rains over the palace. It's not necessarily the whole planet, is it? It's,
right. I see.
It's just there to clean the dust off of all the Fremen after they're fighting. So,
give them a rinse, you reckon?
No. So just to clarify that, just to clarify this, Darth. The American release was the same as the UK release, talking cinema here. But when Dune was shown on American television, they showed it in 2 parts, and loads of scenes were added back in that were not in the original cinema release. So a lot of them came from the Laserdisc version, which by the time it was shown on TV was already out.
They did that in Australia with Dances with Wolves, and everyone said, "Oh yeah, Dances with Wolves was 3 hours long." My first thought was it just needs to be an hour longer, but that's what happened. We got two movie length halves of Dances with Wolves in Australia, on TV.
Well, you got 2 different versions.
Yeah, we got an extended, an hour longer version of Dances with Wolves shown over 2 nights on Australian television for its premiere. Yeah.
Right, so that was like the 3-hour movie plus another hour.
Yeah, it was like a 4-hour version of Dances with Wolves. Yeah,
God.
Yeah, it was like all it needed was an extra hour, right? Yeah.
Yeah, more scenes of Costner looking gorgeous, riding over plains and
landscapes
Indians pointing at him.
Yeah.
So
a friend of mine used to call that kind of filmmaking travelogue. Travelogue movies. Where you're just looking at endless landscape shots of scenery, it looks nice, but for Christ's sake, can you speed up the pace of the bloody narrative,
Well, Drew Gordon says it's good. It has more buffalo slaughter. Actually, do you know what? I saw that version. I did see an extended version. I don't know if it was 4 hours, but I do remember seeing a version that had more scenes than at the cinema. Yeah, you definitely need to see the longer version of this. So
have you felt that how we come to see something actually affects how we feel about the production itself? Like, I'll give you an example. When they did the 1979 miniseries of Quatermass on British television, it was shown as 4 one-hour episodes, and a lot of people really didn't like it because I suppose it probably felt like a new hour-length show that got axed after 4 weeks, but in Australia, it was shown as a miniseries, so it was shown as two-hour installments. So it was like a movie length part 1 with a cliffhanger, and then a movie length part 2, and that was when all the big miniseries were on. Things like what was it? Rich Man, Poor Man, and Power Without Glory, and all those sorts of big miniseries, Roots, and all that. So it seemed epic when I saw it, because I saw, movie length, with ads, it was over 2 hours. And then the following night or 2 nights later or something was part 2, the conclusion. And so it was like, wow, this is a huge thing. Apparently, everyone I spoke to from England has said, it went for four one-hour episodes, then it just sort of ended and Quatermass died, and they just thought it was really boring. I thought, no.
Yeah, I was never a fan of Quatermass. Now here's something interesting. So if you type in, where can I see the Spice Diver edit of Dune? Well, this I did not know. It's available on Blu-ray in the Dune Ultimate Edition box set. The 2022 edition of the box set includes standard and 720 and 1080p editions. So it's actually been released officially by a German company Cock Films, now Pay On Pictures. They're the people who released it. So somebody must have given that version their blessing, because it does exist. So yeah, there's a cover for it as well. Look at that. See if we can get that a bit bigger. So it's 177 minutes as opposed to 137 minutes. Then you've got the fan edit, 183 minutes. See what I mean? There's all these different versions.
It's
so
interesting that someone's actually come along and made their own cut, to have it their way.
Well, I mean, the fact that it's actually been, the Spice Dive Reddit was massive when it landed on YouTube. There were two versions of it, and it really people really liked it because it was much more faithful to the book. It cut out the rain and stuff like that. But I don't care about the rain being in the film personally. But I like all the extra character stuff. That's the stuff I like. So you've got.
It seemed like a good film to me when I saw it originally in the 80s. I mean, I was, as I say, I was 84. I was,
a wee
17
whippersnapper
or something. But yeah, considering how young I was at the time and probably impatient compared to now, and not as perceptive as I probably would like to think I am now, I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was basically a good science fiction film. I remember Sting was very, he had that presence on screen that you just couldn't take your eyes off him. He was just a really interesting guy to watch.
Look at this, the Blu-ray Alternative Edition Redux, that's the Spice Dive Reddit, is available on Etsy.
Of all the places.
Yeah, so, but just be careful, because when you order this, what might arrive is a banana.
Right.
So you never know what you're going to get with actual.
You don't know what you get off Etsy, huh?
Actual picture may not resemble product, But no, I think this is probably legit. So, hey, if you guys want to go and get it, I'm going to drop the link for that. So, 20 pound, worth every penny, I would say.
20 pounds, eh?
I may well grab that. Yeah. So there you go. So there's 5 pages worth of reviews.
Yeah, definitely pick out the lower ones.
Actually, I don't know. Do they take out the rubbish ones? I don't know.
Generally, I find those to be the most reliable.
Right. Well, all of these are 5 stars out of 5.
Which is suspect to me.
I don't know. I think that the people that would buy this would be the people that have already seen it.
Possibly.
Yeah, if I don't get a few bad reviews, I don't feel legit,
So I agree. It is a little suspect, but at the same time, I could believe they're real.
Right. A lot of times I'll turn down the proposition of watching something just because too many people are telling me it's good.
Yeah,
that can happen. I mean, look at the last Star Wars trilogy. So yeah, what
the only time that ever worked out actually was Breaking Bad. That actually lived up to the hype. Everything else was not the case.
I saw that show after everybody else. I got to season 4, and then I got into something else, and I stopped watching it, and I didn't see the rest of it until about 3 years later. By which time I'd forgotten almost everything that had happened previously. So my Breaking Bad experience is quite discombobulated.
Yeah.
So, just looking at other things he did, in terms of his directing, like I was talking earlier, he's got 109 directing credits, which is way more than I thought.
Well, what about Mulholland Drive? That was an interesting one.
Right, yeah, let's talk about that.
That's one of the last thing of his I really watched with great attention and interest, because
that was the last film of his I think I saw at the cinema.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw. He did loads of shorts. I mean, I love the fact that he spent, the last years of his life doing kind of videos and shorts, and you know what? He probably earned enough money.
During the lockdown, he became a YouTuber.
Right.
Did he?
Yeah, Lynch would go on YouTube every day during lockdown when he was sort of stuck at home bored, and he would do a weather report and in America.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
just,
I've seen them. They're listed here.
yeah.
Wow.
They're on IMDb. Look, the weather report, 152 episodes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get David Lynch. He would apparently he would do these sort of poetic weather reports where he would say the sky is blue, there's golden streaks of sunshine, and it's just a beautiful day over the city, you know. And they actually quoted that when his family quoted one of them when he died. When they announced that he'd passed, they said, you know, David Lynch has died, but it's a beautiful day. The sky is blue, royal blue, and you know, there's streaks of golden sunshine, and
Yeah.
you know, it was really quite touching. I thought that they actually used his sort of poetic way of, yeah, beautiful blue skies and golden sunshine. Yeah. So they actually used that apparently in the message when they announced that he'd passed away or something. It was on the radio this morning when I was after I dropped my wife at work. I was listening to it. And I thought that's it played a bit of his voice speaking it, and I thought, oh, it's extraordinary, you know.
So Mulholland Drive has another thing in common with Wild at Heart and Blue Velvet in the sense that I saw them all at the cinema, and that's the only time I saw them. I never rented them. I didn't want to own them. It wasn't because I didn't like them. I thought they were all good films in their own way. Look at that, Philip Seymour Hoffman hanging out. But at the same time, it was like I didn't particularly want to watch the film again. And I remember when I went to the cinema to see it with my then flatmate, we had this funny kind of code word, which was very unsubtle, which was that if neither of us understood what the fuck was happening in a movie, we'd turn to each other, put on this kind of posh Terry Thomas voice and go, "What on earth is going on?" And and each of us said that about 3 times when we were watching this film. But it's all about the kind of weird layers and underbelly of Hollywood and how, you know, the person stepping off the plane is going to get churned up and spat out the other side. First time I'd seen Naomi Watts in anything. She's fucking amazing.
Yeah, she is.
And you know,
Australia.
I don't know what's going on there. I don't remember that snogging scene, but I'm sure it happened. But yeah, the last time I saw this was 2001. You know, so and I remember there's that weird middle-aged couple on the plane that's sort of waving her off, and that bookends the film when she first arrives in LA, and they've got that really weird face.
It was intended to be a TV series,
right?
So he actually ended up taking all the material that he'd shot for what was intended to be the first few episodes of a series and recut it into a movie. And that's why to me it felt like it started very strong, and then it felt like about 2/3 of the way along it started to sort of drift and meander a bit into sort of territory where I wasn't sure what was going on, and then it just sort of ended. I suppose I might appreciate it more if I was to go back and rewatch, but it left me a little bit cold with the I suppose you could say the last third.
Was this your expression on screen here when you were watching the last third of the movie? Accurate reflection.
She was famous in Australia for a TV commercial before she went off to Hollywood, and in the commercial, she is it was an ad for Australian beef or pork or something, and her mum's doing a lamb roast. That's what it was, and she wins in the ad. She won a date with Tom Cruise, and she turns it down because her mum's making a lamb roast. And people made fun of that ad and said, "Oh yeah, she chose her mum's lamb roast over they use another word for meat to be quite rude about going out with Tom Cruise. You know, it was a bit cheeky. But so she was famous for this ad for lamb roast on Australian TV. And
I
then
feel like we now have a moral obligation to try and find this advert. So
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, do you want to search for it, Procto?
Yep, I'll see what I can do.
You search for Naomi Watts roast lamb commercial.
Will do.
Yeah, I mean, this film was out there. Again, I think maybe I need to do a little Lynch marathon. Whether I'll make it through all three, but it would be interesting to watch this.
Didn't know what to make of the fact that it got quite heavy into the sort of lesbian relationship stuff. But I don't know. I mean, looking back now, 20 years or whatever it is down the track, I mean, as we remember David Lynch today, I suppose if you're talking about the idea of the hopeful young actress goes to Hollywood, and then you've got this sort of thing where you get into all the sort of, behind that, shiny sort of dream, there's all this sort of undercurrents of, things that you don't expect on the surface. So I don't know. I suppose he was looking at, that the idea that life is a lot more complex and possibly dark and unexpected than the sort of, naive little dream of, going off to Hollywood with stars in your eyes and living the dream, So, yeah, for better or for worse, it was an interesting film.
Did you see Wild at Heart?
No, that's one I haven't seen. I have not seen his whole his whole canon. No, but I've seen enough highlights to be able to say that I appreciate how original and interesting he was as a director. I've seen Eraserhead, I've seen Dune, I've seen Mulholland Drive, and I saw a little of Twin Peaks. Didn't really get into Twin Peaks, but I was impressed by its influence on television, how TV became much more sort of, in America, became much more oriented towards, cinematic quality and being much more arty and expressionistic and surreal and arc-driven and so on. So I mean, probably we wouldn't have had the X-Files if it hadn't been for Twin Peaks, and possibly we wouldn't have had. I mean, we certainly would not have had Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul if it wasn't for X-Files, because that's where Vince Gilligan started off. He wrote 30 episodes of the X-Files. So would we have had The Sopranos if we hadn't have had shows like Twin Peaks? So I mean, you can look at Lynch as a pioneer who started something that really changed the style of, because American TV had been episodic, really episodic for donkey's years. They were really trapped in the idea that, every individual episode, 26 episodes a year, so if a 10-year show runs, there's 260 episodes. And every one of them is trying to do a complete standalone story every bloody week.
Self-contained story, 5-act breakdown.
Yeah, so I mean, like if you watch something like Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, which went for 4 years, 4 years of 26 episodes or something. There's over 100 episodes, and I mean, some of them were wonderful, but some of them were bloody appalling because the writers were just trying to come up with a new storyline every damn week, And it's crazy. The amount of material it chews up is crazy. But to take one really good story and arc it over a season, that's sort of a compromise between the American format and the British format, where they would serialize like a movie plot over 4 or 6 weeks. So yeah, it was a big influence, Twin Peaks, and I think that influence is remarkable.
Before we talk about Twin Peaks, and I might wrap up with that, Proctor File has found us the lamb commercial.
The ad?
Yeah, here it is.
Right. This will take me back.
I might get a copyright flag for this, but
we're going to dial with Tom Cruise.
Cruise competition.
Hello.
Hello, Julie
There
Rankin.
she is.
Hello, Julie. You've got a dinner with Tom Cruise. Yes,
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Stretch Limousine will take you to a top city restaurant, then a romantic dinner, just you and Tom.
When?
Tonight.
Tonight? I'm sorry, I can't.
What?
What? Mum's doing a lamb roast.
Oh, great, yeah.
Hope you realise I gave up a dinner with Tom Cruise for this.
Never mind, love. You can go out with him any night.
That's your back, doesn't it?
Oh my god! So yeah, that's. I wonder what Tom Cruise thought about that.
Yeah, so a comedian responded to that ad by saying, "Yeah, that was the ad where she gave up. She chose Mum's lamb roast over pork with Tom Cruise."
Yeah, I agree. Naomi Watts is hot, and she's
certainly
available
was
for
back then, yeah.
dating. I'm interested. So good to see you, Andrew. By the way, welcome. Twin Peaks had a pilot that came out in '89. I think it was a feature-length pilot, if I remember rightly, which kind of ended with the bad guy, his face like roaring up to the screen, something like that. Sorry, let me take a sip of water here.
No worries.
Whatever you got there, Lance, it's done a number on your health, mate.
I've had it for 3 weeks. I'm on my second course of antibiotics, and trust me, I'm much better than I was. But because I've got a weak chest, it's going to take me ages to get rid of this cough. And because I've got a weak chest and got the cough, every day I'm just completely exhausted.
Oh, sorry to hear that, man.
But it ain't stopping me from coming on here. Fuck you, chest infection. Right. So
fucking beast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of Lynch regulars are in this. So Jack Nance was also in June, played Harkonnen's assistant. I love this actor, Don S. Davis. Of course, Carl MacLachlan. And this spanned, I can't remember how many seasons. Was it 2 or 3?
It wasn't a long-lasting show because he said the network basically fucked it up because they insisted that he actually reveal who killed Laura Palmer, and he said once you did that, the show was over, unfortunately.
Yeah, 2 seasons, and I don't know if you remember this, but on the last episode, which I think might be this one, this is the final episode. A huge portion of the episode is
backwards.
Yeah, it's backwards, and they're walking between these 2 rooms on this weird set with the tallest guy and the shortest guy possible. And he keeps going from one side to the other, and it was just proper mental. And it went on, that section went on for like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, I remember someone showed me
the
a clip
episode.
of it. Yeah, that was one of those things where, if you've got a mate who likes filmmaking, they make you sit and watch that. Like, sit down and watch this. You have to see this before you die if you're interested in film. Oh, okay, what is it? This is from Twin Peaks. So yeah, I hadn't seen it. Like I'd probably watched a bit of the start of the series and then I hadn't been tuning in. But yeah, if you met anyone who was into filmmaking, they made you sit your ass down and watch it. They'd put the video on here. You got to see this. So I remember seeing that.
Launched the career of Heather Graham as well. I think launched the career of Heather Graham. Because she was in this. I don't think she'd done much before this. This little, what's the correct word? Little person. Don't think I can call it. Right. So the fact that Michael J. Anderson is still alive, that's kind of incredible because the life expectancy of little people is not very high, not very long.
Yeah.
And he's still alive. I was just curious to see what else he'd done. So he was in Carnival. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And he did a Twin Peaks: The Missing Pieces. I think that's some kind of round off thing they did. Yeah, I don't think this guy's still around. Carl Strucken. No, he is. Look, they're all still alive. That's amazing.
Nice.
that would make a great stream, the two of them. If you could get them. This also launched the career of Sherilyn Finn. I remember that as well. Yeah,
She was another striking-looking lady.
Yeah, because she played Laura Palmer, didn't she? So, I think that's Gary Bolter in one of his acting roles. Yeah, so I mean, I liked it, but I agree. I just think if the studio says you've got to reveal, then find a way to tie up the loose ends. You can leave the audience wanting more, but also have an ending that makes sense. This was another kind of what's going on when I got to the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was all a bit strange.
What he said, which I remember very vividly, was David Lynch said that having the unsolved murder of Laura Palmer as a reason to keep tuning in, he said you weren't getting any closer each week to actually solving the case, but he said it yielded all of these little gems each week, all these little rewards of, you're going through the town, you're meeting interesting characters, you're having wonderful little scenes and little moments and things. And he said he loved that, and he thought it was such a pity to sort of, he caved into this pressure of, okay, fine, we'll resolve the murder. And then, he said you still had this great show to make, but everyone tuned out. The ratings went down the can after that, and they had to end it because, that's what people were being strung along by this. What's the solution going to be? Once they solved it, no one was interested in keeping on watching it. So
it was a good twist that it was the dad. Yeah, I remember Frank Silver, who played whatever that loony character, Loony Bob or whatever, Mad Bob. I remember he died relatively young, 44 years of age. That's younger than me now.
Oh,
HIV related illness.
Oh, right.
So he died during the AIDS epidemic in 1995. So, yeah. And he had,
sad.
He attended the one and only Twin Peaks fan convention 2 years before. That is sad. Yeah.
A lot of talented people were wiped out at that time.
Yeah. Huge number. And probably more that we don't even know about, who were listed as dying after a very long illness or cancer or whatever.
Did you see the film, The Dallas Buyers Club?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting because that movie sort of made the point that it was actually the medical profession handled AIDS the wrong way, and that's why so many of them died so fast.
Yeah, I mean, also, well, that's a whole rabbit hole of a topic. But if you watch the film and the band played on, that really shows you where everything went wrong at the beginning. Fantastic movie. It's also mentioned in my book. Is there anything else of Lynch's before we wrap up? Because I don't want to get too wheezy.
Well, I suppose we haven't talked really much about Eraserhead, and just my friend who got right into that film, he really felt that it tapped into something about, because it seemed post-apocalyptic, because they had this baby that's sort of a mutant, and it's very disturbing the way the baby was presented on screen. It really looked weird, the sort of mutant baby that he has. But he still sort of loves it and protects it like it's the main character, and with this weird, messed up, bizarre hairstyle. So there was a real sense of sort of a symbolic, arty film there, post-apocalyptic, but it also seemed like it was maybe just a commentary on the sort of the horrible mundanity and slog of industrial civilization and life, because he seems like he's living in this vast industrial complex where he's sort of coming and going each day and going through the motions. Apparently, it was a very short script, and people didn't think it would expand to a movie length, but he said, it's the way I'm going to shoot it and direct it. It's going to be movie length,
Yes, it is.
That was interesting. There was a lot of fascinating aspects to that one,
Not least of which various people have modelled their hair on the lead character. I think he did it before House Party. Look at that.
Marge Simpson perhaps might have been inspired a little bit.
Because Procto, your best mate, is super into this film as well.
Oh yeah, again, everything that David Lynch has made, he's obsessed with. But yeah, he did get back in touch with me. He is feeling the social anxieties.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah,
doesn't have to come on camera, of course. But Rachel, great to see you in the chat again. Thank you for popping in. Yeah, I mean, I've only seen Eraserhead once. That's another one I've only seen once.
Oh yeah, there it is. Wow, that's so disturbing. It really seems like it's after a nuclear war and their baby's like a mutation or something. It's really unnerving.
Right? Like I remember seeing photos of kids being born after being hit with Agent Orange that look more normal than that.
Have you guys seen what I think is one of his sweetest films? Quite unusual for Lynch. Have you seen The Straight Story?
I have not.
Watch the trailer.
This morning you fall and you can't get off the floor. That's your hips, Alvin. And you're going to have to use a walker now to get around.
No walker. I love a lightning storm.
Me too, Dad. Uncle Al, I had a stroke.
Rose, darling, I'm going to go back on the road. And I've got to make this trip on my own. I've got to go see Lyle. I know you understand.
Alvin, you're going to get blown off the road. That's what I'm afraid.
Mount Zion, Wisconsin. Why didn't you just take your car?
I don't have a driver's license.
That's 60 more miles of hills. That's across the Mississippi.
Little engine trouble.
I'd be happy to drive you the rest of the way to Mount Zion.
I still want to finish this the way I started. And this is a hard swallow for my pride. I just hope I'm not too late. You've got two brothers that haven't spoken in 10 years. I want to make peace. I want to sit with him, look up at the stars, like we used to do so long ago. Brothers and brother.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically this beautiful movie about, this guy that has not spoken to his brother in 10 years, and he can't drive, but he's got a tractor because he's a farmer. So he gets this shitty little tractor out, and it's basically one straight road all the way there, hence Straight Story.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was already a massive fan of that actor because I don't know if you guys have seen the film The Natural with Robert Redford, with baseball player. Not seen The Natural?
I have not. I'm not a fan of baseball.
But you're an American. That's mandatory.
Means nothing to me.
It's mandatory for you to be a fan of baseball if you're American, or at least vaguely interested.
No, never.
Well, I have to say,
World
The Natural is a beautiful movie. I really like it. It's typical Robert Redford stuff. But it's got a wonderful score. And anyway, it was one of the first videos I ever bought because this video shop only had about 40 films, and they just decided they weren't going to do any more, and they were selling them. So one of the ones I picked up was The Natural. I didn't even know what it was about. And Richard Farnsworth, who's in The Straight Story, had a great role in it. And I mean, he is your atypical cowboy, American cowboy. He was a stuntman for a long time. He worked on black and white movies. He was born in 1920. So, and if you look at his credits, you know, he's got 90 stunt credits and 94 acting credits.
That's wild.
And it's sad because he started getting, I can't remember if it was dementia or Alzheimer's or thing where your hands start shaking, one of them.
Parkinson's.
And he was 80 and he called time on his life. He checked out because he didn't want to put himself through that illness. So yeah, suicide by gunshot, sadly. But there are 2 films of his that you should definitely check out apart from The Straight Story. One is The Grey Fox, which is like a Western. This one about a true story of a aging stagecoach and bank robber. And the other one is The Natural. Both absolutely fantastic films. Is there anything else you want to shout out about David Lynch before we wrap up?
One of the things I did want to call attention to was how creative he was, even with, you know, limited marketing. He knew that, like, even if he couldn't afford, you know, commercials or whatever, he could on one occasion rent or borrow someone's cow and just sit on the side of the road in LA, and that alone garnered enough attention that it got on the news and worked as well as any commercial.
What you mean, Lynch sat on the cow or just had the cow there?
No, he just sat on the side of the highway with a cow. Just like this, maybe not a highway, but just one of those main streets in LA. And he just sat on the side of the road with a cow, just on a chair, with a sign, you know, advertising his movie.
Right. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, that guy's got a wild imagination.
Yeah.
Is it me, or is there something fundamentally odd about what's going on with movies nowadays, where they say, you know, this movie cost, you know, 200 million, but we had to spend another 200 million on marketing and promotion.
Right.
Yeah,
does that seem to fundamentally contradict the fact that if you were making a movie and you had, I don't know, an A-list actor playing the main part, if you put him on Joe Rogan, you would reach just about your entire target audience for free.
Right. I mean, it is bullshit because it used to be called the budget for P&A. P&A used to stand for prints and advertising.
Gotcha.
So prints would be your trailer. So your trailer obviously had to be produced like your film, and the trailer.
Release your trailer on YouTube nowadays, and it would
not
go
exactly.
viral.
Now it's all digital, so all you're doing is you're uploading it. Even the cinemas don't have projectionists anymore. It's all automated, right?
Yeah. I find it extraordinary how so much money seems to be going into movie making. It should be cheaper than ever.
Dude. To quote one of my favorite cheesy films of all time, you don't really think they spend $50,000 on a toilet seat, $70,000 on a hammer, do you? You know what I mean? We spent 200 million on advertising. Really? Well,
they're pissing on our legs and saying it's rain, right? That's what they're doing.
Look, there's 20 producers on that movie. They've all got jacuzzis and pools to pay for. Most of them probably need new houses now. So
it's like the bloke who sued Cubby Broccoli, and his name's on Thunderball as a producer. He didn't produce shit, you know. Kevin McClory.
Do you know what? That would be an interesting stream for us to do because I know that story really well. And I've got the book, The Battle for Bond. Really good book on the whole thing, very much in detail. And that guy was kind of, he was stubborn to the point that he was an idiot, really, because when he'd fought his way onto Thunderball, Kevin McClory, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Kevin McClory. And Thunderball was a huge success. He could have, with the reputation of that movie, because he could have said, produced by the producer of Thunderball, you know, he could have
gone off and
the world
and had a great
was his
career.
oyster. He could have gone on and made
Yeah.
different things. Instead, from 1965 literally until 1983, he spent his life battling to try and get the rights back, and he only ever worked on 6 movies, the other most prominent one being Around the World in 80 Days. He got an exec producer credit on Never Say Never Again, but he didn't do anything on it at all. So
wasted his opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, you know, died at 82 in 2006, and I mean, just I just think it's a shame. He basically wasted his life, really. You know, but
yeah.
Right, well, David Lynch, we salute you. Oh, mate, no, of course you haven't. You've found me now, so it's all good. So, yeah, David Lynch, we salute you. I mean, you've got to say, love him or hate him, whether you like his films, you don't. You cannot deny the man was not only talented, but he was also an extraordinary filmmaker, I would say. And like I say, I personally love his Dune film, and would urge people to track down the longer edits if you've not seen it. As we already said, it's the Spice Diver edit is available on Etsy on Blu-ray. I would love someone watching to order that and tell me what turns up in the post. Make sure it is actually that.
Not a banana.
Yeah, you can get it from there.
So
to sign off, thanks everyone for watching. I'm going to go straight to bed, so I won't be hanging around. But to sign off, I think what I'm going to do is show the trailer again. Procto, did you want to plug anything before you go?
You can find me and my buddy Flex whenever he's available on the Mixed Media Podcast up on twitch.tv/FlexOnya or here on YouTube, the Mixed Media Podcast.
Do you want to just type that link in the private chat for me and I'll whack it into the chat? Adrian, I understand, like me, you've got a few books out.
Yeah, 1 or 2, mate. 1 or 2. Yeah. Actually, you know what I've been doing
lately?
It's a
hint for you to plug them and elaborate a little bit. Do you want to tell people about your books quickly?
Yeah. Well, I've had a lot of success with my books on Blake 7 and the Jerry and Sylvia Anderson live action series UFO and Space 1999. I wrote a couple of books about a few lesser known works. Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, one of Jerry and Sylvia's perhaps more unsung
that's not
series.
That's not a lesser known work for me.
No, but you're a man of great taste and discernment, of course. Yes.
Well, I mean, it also had a remake, didn't it? It had the animated remake and
yeah.
You know,
and a couple of little shows, Time Slip from 1970 and the Canadian series The Star Lost. I did little books on those, and I kind of got some poor reviews, you know. So in January, what I've actually been doing so far in January is going back over those books and doing a sort of a second edition for the new year, where I've been just trying to add as many new points and aspects to the books as possible and try and bump up the word count and the page count and try and just, you know, it's all about value for money, isn't it? You know, you're trying to really add enough. I figure if I can hit a sort of a critical mass where, you know, people reading the book come across some things that they didn't know about the show or some points of interest that make them think, they're not going to feel that they didn't get something of value out of the book. So yeah, I've sort of been revisiting the ones which got negative reviews and I've been trying to answer those criticisms by improving the books. So that's been an interesting journey for me in the last few weeks, I guess.
And of course, the Thunderbirds one is especially fantastic because you had that famous award-winning writer do the forward for you.
That's right. Yes, Lance Nielsen himself has done a fantastic forward, several pages, I will say, too. Very, very generous with your words there,
Well,
Lance.
Thunderbirds definitely deserves a few pages if you're going to write a forward about it being one of the best
you
television
had
shows
you
ever.
covered a lot of actually interesting stuff. Like you talked about meeting Jerry and
Yeah.
what your sense of him was like, and also you covered the rights issues around Thunderbirds, which I thought was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And you also covered something which I didn't know as much about as you do, which because you've experienced it, which is the fan activity side of Thunderbirds. Like
Oh yeah,
gaming
Fanderson and
conventions
all of
and
that.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
Yeah.
was. So you actually added, I think, a dimension to the book that wasn't there. So I really appreciated your forward.
Well, consider me the fourth dimension in your book narrative. Listen,
Thank you.
so we're going to wrap things up there. I'm going to show.
That's Blake 7 season 4. That book is my longest Blake 7 book. It's over 200 pages, and it's had 4 5-star ratings and a review the other day, which someone said it's the strongest one. So I do appear to have been improving as I go along with my book. So
that's
yay.
always
Nice.
improving is always good. Well, listen,
and Lance, how's your book going? Your latest book
my
about
Silver
movies?
Screen Journeys is selling quite well.
Yeah.
What I hated was I did a load of typos before Christmas, sorted it out. I thought it's going to have almost no typos in it now. And then after the Christmas rush was out the way, I thought, right, now I'm going to order my copy. And I got a nice hardback copy of it and I read through it. I'm still not all the way through it yet. And I found 20 more typos. And I was so angry.
Do you know what it is? I worked it out. You know, have you seen those things on social media where they'll say, if you can read this, and they've rearranged the letters of the words? I've realized the human brain is so good at recognizing a word, even if it's spelled wrong, your brain actually sorts it out for you. So you will actually read it and it reads fine. And then you've printed it and published it, and then you look at it in a printed copy, like with fresh eyes, different perspective, and you see these typos. How the hell did I miss it? Your brain.
Well, there were some that I did correct, but then the autocorrect on the software fucked up my corrections. So
that can happen.
There were a couple of them as well. Which anyway, it's all been corrected now. So the latest version, which probably still has some typos in it towards the end. There's probably about 4 different editions.
I'm updating my files because of that. I'll spot something and I'll think, how did I miss that?
No, I'm updating them all the time. Listen, thanks to the people in chat that have been hanging out with us. Thanks to my 2 guests that have been coming on.
Yeah, and hope your health improves soon. Good luck.
Yeah, no, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. Do try and track down the longer version of Lynch's Dune, because I'm telling you all, it is worth watching.
I'll miss the sea. But a person needs new experiences. Without change, something sleeps inside us.
Soon we leave for Arrakis. Arrakis is real. The Harkonnens are real.
I see plans within plans. I see House Atreides, House Harkonnen feuding. I see you behind it. Soon they'll begin to fill its space.
It is said, a man will come, the Kwisatz Haderach. He will go where we cannot. Many men have tried.
They tried and failed?
They tried and died.
The Duke will die before these eyes, and he'll know that it is I, Vladimir Harkonnen, who encompasses his doom.
spice would change me. I see it. I can see it.
You saved that one.
A storm is coming. Our storm. And when it arrives, it will shake the universe.
Today, he's creative, we're creative. How about you? Share your passion, join the crew. At Outcast Creative, we're breaking through. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Hang with Lance and the Outcast.